Are we on? We on. Hello. Welcome back. So, in today's episode, I'm going to be in charge.
Large and in charge.
Large and in charge. And I will do my best to stay with it. But I've got some things up my sleeve that I've written down the last few days that you've just said in passing, which have been very, very funny. Speaking of which, the first one is... I wanted to ask if anybody else out there has ever had any issues with lofts.
Because
you mentioned a certain little furry friend
rodent
that was in your loft.
Yes.
And I just wanted to expand on that.
Well, let me expand on that for you. So for all the viewers at home, I had a little bit of a rodent problem. Furry, what are they? Creatures.
Rodents.
They're rodents, aren't they?
Anything with large front teeth are classed as rodents.
Classed as rodents. Yep. Well, when I was younger and I lived with my parents, there was a certain amount of scurrying that was happening at some point. I'm going to say I was about 12 or 13 when it was happening. I'm sure I was. I think I was older. But anyway, a lot of scurrying started happening upstairs. Now, when it comes to lofts, they're a bit scary.
Yeah, I've never really fancied going up the loft.
Lofts for a bit.
Yeah.
Naff.
Seeing as, something that I've always associated with the loft was the Treehouse of Horror Simpsons episode where Bart's estranged brother or twin is in the loft, and yeah, that always used to get me. That always used to like freak me out. So I didn't ever really go up there, but there was a lot of creepy crawlies. There was a lot of like just dark crevices that I didn't like the look of.
See, I always think of, when I think about lofts, I think what great structures they have. But no, I think about The Grudge, because there's a scene in The Grudge where she goes at the loft and she lights like a candle or something, or a torch basically, and the face pops up of this young Asian boy, right? And then it just got ruined by Scary Movie, which is very very funny. But enough of that. Back to the lofts. Obviously, they're a bit uneasy. No one wants to hear sounds coming from the lofts.
No, that would keep me up at night. Especially scurrying sounds.
Creature sounds, right?
Tiny footsteps is a bit worrying.
So when it came to this scurrying, my dad didn't want to inspect because he was too scared. He's too much of a pansy to do that. No offence, Dad, if you're watching this. But he is, and he'll fully admit it. And my mum was probably the same. But... obviously, I'm like, what the hell is this thing? It's got to be something like, I think, is it rats? Is it anything like that? Like, it's got to be something creature-wise. And it turned out, long story short, I'm going to cut to the chase, it was squirrels. Now, squirrels, you think, oh, God, that's adorable, though. Like, you know, they've salvaged in there for warmth, which is what they did.
In the insulation. Under the floorboards.
They were all cuddled up. It was a family of 3. They just moved in rent-free without paying any council tax or anything. Little robbing bastards. They'd gone in there, and basically my dad had decided that he wanted them out. Obviously, rightfully so. They were waking us up at like 4 a.m. It was a nightmare. Like, you couldn't sleep. And it was really irritating because they just come and go as they pleased, because that's what they thought they could do. Rent-free, come and go, squatters. That's what they were. Squirrel squatters. That's going to go in the title, actually. Squirrel squatters. That's what I want to call it. So we had these squirrels squatting in our loft. God, that's like a tongue twister, isn't it? Squirrels squatting.
Squatted in the loft.
Squirrels squatted silently, scratching, squirreling,
Scurrying.
Loft. My dad went and bought a £75 creature humane trap, right? Because we weren't going to kill them. There was no way we were going to kill them. And he just wanted to get them out. But he wasn't going up there to put that trap in, by the way. He wasn't going to go and actually put that trap in the loft. There's no way in hell that man was going to put his head, because we had a loft where we didn't have like a pull down hatch.
They're even creepier.
We had to like do a balancing act, or like a ladder, like just a small ladder from the shed, right? And my dad would barely put his standard loft hatches, just a little square, right? Push it open. And I don't know who went up there. I have a feeling it was my granddad that went up there and put it right at the back of where the opening was, because where the squirrels were getting in, if you care to care, was actually by the guttering, because there's holes there to get into your loft, but they're literally minuscule. So these were like tucking in tight. They must have been that cold, bless them, but still, don't live in my house rent free. And yeah, days gone by. The rat trap's now up there, or the squirrel trap, rat trap, whatever it is. Nothing at all. The scratching's gone. It's all gone. Okay. Oh, gone. God's sake. It's about time that I had a voice crack on the... I think that's the first voice cracker on the pod. Maybe not. I'll count them all. But, yeah, no noise at all. Days have gone by and we're like, oh, well, clearly the... You know... But you would have thought you'd heard them more maybe, like... Because, like, obviously they're stuck. Yeah, well, no, but they're stuck, right? So you would have thought... Help me. You would have thought... Do you know what we do? You would have thought that they'd been... like captured, so you thought they'd be squeaking, right? Nothing. So then like a couple of weeks go by and my dad's like, surely they've got to have been there now, like, or they've got to be dead or something. So sends my granddad up again because he doesn't so my granddad goes up there, checks.
Your granddad's the man of the house.
He is, yeah. He's a great man. Goes up there, has a look at these cages.
Oh no.
And they're empty.
Okay.
Completely empty. As in, the trap's not gone down.
They escape.
They're still open, as in, like, because what it is pressure based. So, like, you'd go in, you'd walk in, like you see in the cartoons, and it'd stop. The worst thing about that is that obviously the trap was 75 quid. The squirrels are just left on their own accord. They're gone, disappeared, gone. See you later. This place did us well for a few months, but now we're off. Well, however long they stayed there, but they were off. They were gone. So my dad was obviously angered, more so fact that he's been fretting about squirrels living in his loft for the last few months. He's paid £75 for this old trap for them not to use it. But then I'll tell you what happened with that trap. It's still there today, even though my mum has moved out of that place.
So it's just menacing.
There is a trap in that house still, and the poor person who lives there is going to go and look and go, what the hell is that? Because it's just this long, like, rabbit cage trap that looks like some weird contraption just in the corner.
What kind of beast is living in my loft?
Or, you know, good for the future.
Well, yeah, if they ever get squirrels again.
Well, no, not... They're not going to die.
Well...
It's just like a jail. It's literally like a jail for squirrels.
Prison time for getting in my house.
But it was an absolutely traumatic time at the time. Key little buzzword there. That was a hellish time. You'd wake up at like 2 a.m. and hear like all across the floors, because
that does sound really creepy though.
Unless you're privileged, you didn't have your loft boarded, so you just
we had the same. It was just like random beams, so you'd have to like be Spider-Man when you go up there.
Yeah.
So I was always nominated because I was like the
How old were you at this point?
3.
Swinging from the rafters at 3.
No, like, because like my dad had to be careful like balancing on them because there were literally like 2 or 3 like beams until you got to like this little island of flooring at the back where all the bags and the boxes and the Christmas crap was stored on top.
So there was really no space at all to sit on it?
No, not really.
Stand, sorry.
You literally had to sit there with like one leg on one beam, one across the other. It was like Twister. And then you'd be like, okay, I'm cramping up now, like pass me the fucking box, like let me pass the stuff backwards. It was a mission to get everything back up there after Christmas.
And it is about 37 degrees up there as well.
Oh my god, yeah, it's roasting.
So you're not only are you balancing, you're sweating because you're like
get me out of here. Then the squirrels come and they attack you as well.
They're just hiding in the corner, like look at me laughing. Bless them. But no, so I mean, not bless them again, rent free and also squatters. But that was a very, very, very. I forgot if I told you about that story. To be fair, it was.
I love that story so much.
It's
more the fact that they must have seen the trap and been like, "Oh, cheeky fucks! What are they trying to do? Yeah. They're trying to trap us. Fuck off!"
They took their little things and they ran. They were like, "I'm having enough. I'm off." But yeah, that's my squirrel story, everyone, boys and girls. I hope you enjoyed that. Hope we don't ever have squirrels. Jesus, I'm not going.
I'm trying to think. The worst thing we ever had was there was a colony of pigeons that would go on top of. So our conservatory at my mum and dad's house is just like plastic roofing. Like, it's
corrugated roofing. Yeah,
so it's corrugated roofing. So it's clear and it's obviously like plasticky texture. It's not like super thick. And there was a colony of pigeons that would always go on top of it and just like nest in the corner. So my dad would always go up obviously and get rid of the nest. And then it would appear again a few days later, and as if to say, piss off, this is our land. So this
is my territory.
Get rid of it again.
I'm having this.
And then the same thing would happen, but then the cats got familiar with where they were nesting. So I don't want to know what happened after that, but they didn't come back again.
So you think the cats ate them all?
Not ate them. I think they probably just sorted them out. But yeah.
This town ain't big enough for the two of us.
No, like our first cat, Tiger, was a little bit brutal with other animals. He was the only cat I know of that would go for dogs. Like literally, if there was a dog on the green and they were getting like walked across, he'd literally like look at them, he'd spot them, and then he'd kind of like start prowling. You'd be like, Tiger, no. And they're aptly named.
What, just absolutely, like, what would actually go for the dog?
Yeah, he'd go for the dog. There was one time he went for, I can't remember what breed it was. It was a big dog, and my mum had to come out, literally like trying to like pull him off of this dog because he was like claws in. It wasn't funny. It was quite bad.
Sorry.
But yeah, it was like claws in type of thing, and he would just would death grip and not really get
Was
off.
he like it with every animal, like cats as well?
Yeah, he sorted a lot of animals out in our street.
What is cat like? It was a brute cat.
No, he was lovely at home. I don't know what it was. He just seemed to be really territorial. But like when we had the guinea pigs and the rabbit, wouldn't go near him. Wasn't fussed by that. Wasn't fussed when we got the other cat, or when we got a dog. I think he wasn't there.
If he was, the dog wouldn't have been there.
He would have sorted him out. But yeah, nothing in the house. It was always if he was outside and he like spotted something, he'd straight bolt for it. I never knew why. Never understood why.
Did he live for long?
Yeah, he was about, I think he was 14.
Yeah, like it's an average
he was
life.
deaf, blind, and God knows what else, bless him.
Yeah, that's what cats get like.
But yeah, he was not a scared boy, to say the least.
My dad ran over the cat. That was an interesting story. I probably won't put this as a clip because if he sees it, but I'll take
out him.
No, I won't. Poor bloke. Well, it wasn't his fault. He was going to work, right? So long story short, my dad ran over our cat, the veteran cat. That cat was 19 years old.
Oh Jesus!
Right?
She's probably asking for it.
I think I was 15 at the time. So obviously, like, it'd grown up with me, and it was older than me. So I was like, that was nuts. And it was a relic, this cat. And it would walk in, and we had another cat at the time. We had Simba at the time.
I swear to God, anyone that like, why did you call it Simba?
I called it Simba.
How old were you when you called it Simba? There were so many people
13.
that have that pets called Nala or Simba or like, what was the other? Were the really
Yeah, it was really
popular
cool.
ones? It's not cool.
He was like a lion. He was like all like spotty. It was quite cool. Anyway, so Simba was like 2, so he's in the house. He's still quite young. Like Poppy, bless her. She was
Poppy the cat.
She wouldn't go very. She wouldn't go very far. She was very placid as a cat anyway throughout her whole life, but she wouldn't go very far when she got older. She'd go outside the front of the house, have a little bit of a roam, do a little circuit, and then come back in. But she was deaf and blind. Like, she couldn't see. I don't know.
So sad that they all get like that.
Well, we all do, don't we?
Yeah.
But that's life. And basically, my dad's going to work. He worked a night shift. He was reversing off our drive and just heard a massive crunch. And then I'm inside. I'm in the house, and I just hear my mum wail, like literally
God.
wailing. And I was like, "Oh, what the hell? My dad's crashed the car or something. He's reversing into something." And like, my dad then pulls forward because he hears the crunch. He feels it, and the cat runs off. Like, the cat still runs, but is up in the thing, and she's limped a bit. But like, her whole backside was like basically like. You couldn't see it, but obviously on an X-ray you could. It was fucked. Like, he crushed her pelvis under the car.
God.
Obviously, she's just there blind. She can't fucking see. Like, she's Stevie Wonder, and she just walked into the bloody car and just like not knowing any better. Bless her, but I don't think she would have survived much longer anyway. So he probably put her out of her misery. If I'm honest, he probably did. But you know, it was a little bit of a traumatic time at the time because again, she was 19, so we were just like, oh, how long is she gonna live for? I think literally a few weeks before we were like, how long is she gonna live for? Is it gonna be this long? Is it gonna be this long? No, it's actually next week when she gets battered by the fucking MG that's on the drive. But yeah, it was that was traumatic. I don't like when that happens and things like. No, that was very awful time. Awful time. Sorry, I went on a tangent with that
You
then.
did love it.
Forgot about that story.
Let's bring it back. I know that there's a few really funny stories that I wanted to get you to reveal to everybody. One of which involves you in a dog chase. Another one involves your TV screen. And then the third one I'll come back to in a minute. So if
that was one of my wheel things that was.
Which one? The TV one?
The TV screen one, yeah. So maybe I can pretend that the wheel exists, and I've done the wheel today.
Yeah, that can be your wheel.
That can be my wheel.
Today,
Whatever the
I really
wheel.
want to hear that.
Okay, so I'll spin the wheel, but if it's food, then I'll somehow say I was eating food beforehand, and all of a sudden I went upstairs. But back to it, the dog story. Mm-hmm. You want that old chestnut first?
Yes, please.
Well, boys and girls, I was a young whippersnapper who was very afraid of a lot of things, clearly, hence what we've discovered on these last 3 episodes. 3? 4? Oh my God, it's 4.
This is 4th, yeah.
Bloody hell. 4 episodes, and you've already realised that I am the biggest pussy when it comes to man.
Yep. You're a scaredy cat.
Scaredy cat boy.
Scaredy cat.
There was this dog on the beach. So let me get this straight. So we went to, very similar to when Carla mentioned in previous episodes that she went to Great Yarmouth. I did very similar things. We didn't have like a set destination.
You didn't go to Great Yarmouth, though, did you?
I did go to Great Yarmouth.
You didn't experience it that well.
I did it once.
Did you go on the fairy tale sails?
No, I did the other snails. I did Joyland snails.
There we go.
But I went to different places. I went to Scarborough, I went to Cleethorpes, I went to Burnham-on-Sea, I went to Camber Sands, where the Caravan Club was with Jay and the In-Betweeners, which I only found out with that a few years later. But there was one distinct holiday where I was really scared of dogs still. It's probably to the age of about 13 when our family got a dog. And this is like any dogs, by the way. This isn't just like, I'm not just scared of like Alsatians or like Staffies or pit bulls. I was scared of like anything dog wise because I just found it really aggressive and I just thought he was going to eat me. And so when it came to this holiday, I just did, I know. And I thought it was terrifying.
What started this whole like phobia?
I think it was that my family had some dogs that were very boundy off their own bat. They were probably lovely. They just wanted to cuddle. But at that time, I'm like 2 and I've experienced it and I'm like, oh my God. Like, and that just traumatized me till later on. We gone on holiday and we sat next to a family which have a...
How old were you?
Do you know what? I'd love to know what actual age I was because I bet I overestimate how old. I think I was older than I was younger.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I'm going to say that I was 11. I think I was 11.
Okay.
Right. And so I managed to set myself up like a little football game. I put some rocks down. I was just playing football by myself on the beach. Next to us was me and my mum and dad was a family that had a border terrier. Now, if you're not familiar with border terriers, they're very small, very yappy dogs, like Jack Russells, like that kind of thing. This dog is tethered to a stick in the sand.
Oh, no.
That is, obviously not the best form of security for any dog.
Never trust a stick in the sand. That never works. It's just a waste of everything.
Exactly. And I'm playing with the football by this dog, obviously, because we're next to it. Having a great time. I think the dog wants the ball. I think that's why, naturally, you know. Not me, like I'm thinking it's going to. My anxiety's gone straight to it's going to eat me.
A border terrier.
I'm going to jump straight to the chase. This dog decided to pull off the tether, which was as useful as a chocolate teapot, runs towards me, right? I see this dog barking and running at me.
Freaks
looking
out.
like some sort of like wolf in the middle of the Russian winter forest.
It was not a wolf. It's about that big.
And I've turned. And I've absolutely legged it. Now, where I was, in Cleethorpes, by the way, this was the Cleethorpes holiday, and I know that because the beach at Cleethorpes goes out about a mile. The tide goes out about a mile, which is very strange, but yeah. I had to literally run like I was doing the 100 metres in the Olympics. Like, I was fully running from this dog. And in fact, I want to do a little thumbnail for this, where I'm running from a dog in a little Olympic athlete outfit. That's a little thing. There you go. But I fucking ran like my life depended on it from this border terrier. Probably would have still ran from a border collie.
A border collie would have been better if that was...
God, no, I would have been legging it still. And my whole idea, right, was I'm going to go into the sea because this dog's not going to get in the sea with me.
Dogs can swim.
Well, I knew that, but also then I only realised that when I got in. It turned around, it didn't care. It looked at me and went...
Good job.
Then turned around again and then went in. At this point, my parents are on the floor absolutely crying their eyes out. They're laughing their head off, like absolutely howling. I've walked back really embarrassed and just like Gone. Yep. And then to this day, my dad still brings up. I'm pretty sure it was one of the first things that he ever mentioned to you.
That you told me, which is it was just brilliant.
One of the first times pretty much the first time I ever took Carla around to my dad's house. He was like, "Oh, James ever told you the story about how he ran away from a little dog?"
He told me so many like bad ones.
Podcast-worthy stories.
Either being really stupid, really scared of stuff, or just really embarrassing things.
Yeah. I was a test subject as a kid.
Yeah, you're only child. That's what you get.
Only child syndrome.
That's what you get.
Yeah. I was. But that is my traumatising dog story. But you'd like to know now that I do like Border Terriers. I have no grudges against any of them. I'm sure they're great. I hope that one's doing well. It's probably dead.
Probably, not there anymore.
Not alive anymore, God rest its soul. But I'm sure the highlight of its life was
chasing you on the beach.
Chasing a small child into the sea. It was definitely that.
I just love how that's where your brain was, okay, I'm going to fuck this off. I'm going to go hide in the ocean.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that it actually stopped.
But also, I think trumps your, if I'm on the top bunk, it's not going to get me. Else. If I'm furthest away from the door, it's going to get someone else theory. So I'll have that one, thank you.
I don't know, that's a pretty strong theory.
If someone's running after you with a knife, run to the sea.
Where is there a sea in the Midlands? If someone's here,
swim pool.
What I'm gonna do?
If someone's run at you with a knife, like fully, like I'm talking like Ghostface-esque type of thing, right?
Okay.
And you're like,
where am I?
Well, you're not where we live.
Okay, am I on a beach?
Yeah, you're on a beach. Where you going?
Someone in a Ghostface costume.
It's Halloween. I don't know.
Well, if no one else has like hunted them down and gone oi and chased them after me.
What are they doing that for? He's got a knife.
Somewhere.
But where are you going? Come on, tell me.
I don't know.
You're going to the sea. That's where you're going.
I would pick up a rock and I'd fucking dash it. That's what I do.
Hits him, gets back up. What are you doing?
I mean, nothing.
You've seen Ghostface.
Yeah, nothing.
There.
Bastard, so.
He gets body slammed. He gets God knows what. Then he comes back
but
up.
I don't think the sea would do anything because if you were getting chased by a person, the sea or water is the worst thing because it slows you down. Because obviously you're having to wade through it and then eventually you're swimming. If they're a quicker swimmer than you, you're dead. If you get, I don't know, if you step on something or because you can't see under there, you're dead. So I don't agree with that method for humans, so to speak.
Well, who do you agree with it for then?
Like, the dog thing I can kind of get. If it's like an animal like that, then I can understand where you're coming from. But not people, because it slows you down and it's more of a hindrance.
Well,
because I'm not a fantastic swimmer.
If I had a killer run at me, I'd still run in the sea.
Well, I'll be laughing at you when you get killed on the beach.
I wouldn't be on the beach, I'd be in the sea.
For you. And then we'll see who wins.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You know, I'm really not a very good swimmer. I don't know how you were in school, but
I was good. You know, we've been swimming before. You know, you're a good swimmer now.
It took me a while, though. How many badges did you have?
I had them down my towel. I was that guy.
I had one. No, that's a lie. I had
was it like 15 metres?
No, I had the 10 metres and the 25 metres. I tried to do my 50, got really freaked out that I couldn't, like, put my feet down and had to do it, I think, twice. The third time, I think they gave up on me and were like, you don't need to do your 50, just leave this one.
Swimming's quite an actual thing, because
it was really difficult.
I suffered from chronic nosebleeds as a kid. I was that, the nerdy kid in school who was like, my nose was bleeding. Like,
I've never had nosebleed. No. Touch wood. I don't ever want one.
I don't get them anymore, but I used to as a kid. Like, I used to have to get my nose cauterized. You don't know what that is. They just do something up your nose. Every, thing. I was the nerd in school that had to do that. But it made me have a phobia, which I think actually derives from the phobia, because I have that, I think it's called thalassophobia,
what the hell is that?
Which is the fear, I might be wrong here, I think I am, no I'm not, deep water.
I can kind of, I don't think I like deep water, because again, any time that I'm in a pool or when we've been in the sea and stuff, I'll go a certain distance, but if I know I can't touch the floor, I get really freaked out and a little bit anxious about it.
I hate it. I think the thought of not knowing what's underneath me scares me, and that even still derives in pools. Like, I don't like it.
I don't like the deep end. I like
hate it.
The shallow end as well.
Hate it. And I think the one thing that it derived from was the nosebleeds, because I couldn't jump in the pool, because every time I jumped in the pool, I don't know if it was the pressure, but going under the water would make my nose bleed.
Oh, you
so
had
like,
nosebleed in the pool?
Yeah.
Ugh.
So I couldn't do it, and obviously it was in like a public swimming pool, so that I think I did it once or twice and my nose bled, and the next few times I was like, I can't do it. So like everyone else would be at the end of every swimming lesson. I don't know if it was a standard thing in the UK, but it was always like, oh, go on, like everyone jump in the pool at the end.
No, I didn't do that. I was in the baby group for a while, so we weren't allowed to do that.
Well, I wish I was in the baby group. See, it pays to be like it. I told you, that's with the PE one.
It pays to be scared of things.
Yeah, it pays to be not good at things, because sometimes you get it easy, which is nice. But yeah, I think that derives from that term. And it's the only fear that I think I still hold today, other than heights, is thalassophobia, and it's horrible, because like I love swimming. I love
You're really
swimming.
good at swimming. You're like a little water baby.
I do love swimming, but there's actually a general fear that if like I went into like a big pool and I can see it getting darker and darker and darker.
See,
Maybe not in a public pool as much, but
James doesn't like whales.
I don't like shadows in water.
He doesn't like shadows in the
Shadows in water are terrifying. And then everyone makes these videos, and it's thalassophobia. That's what it's literally linked to, and it's the shadows. That video, there was this distinct video of a horrible thing, and it was of a whale. It was like a blue whale.
They are massive.
And it was like the like, just as obviously you see its shadow just as it's kind of coming up from the water, can't you? It literally gives me goosebumps. Like, imagine if you're on a ship, right? Yeah, and all of a sudden you're like, oh god, it's gone a bit dark underneath, and that thing, I'm going overboard. I might see you later. I'm off. I don't care.
Even though you're going to the whale.
I know those things are the most placid things. They're not going to eat you. They don't care about you. They don't want to eat you, do they? They just eat krill and stuff, don't they?
That's what Nemo said.
But killer whales would.
Yeah, they'd fuck you up. Orcas, they'd fuck you up.
But orcas are also massive still.
Orcas are nasty shit, so I do not trust them.
Yeah, they're not the nicest.
Everything.
They eat everything.
They play
but
with it as well.
They should be in the wild. That's where they should belong. So, you know. But either way, little shits. Big shits, actually. Big shits. But no, I hate shadows in water. And I think genuinely, even like a very minor shadow, like maybe like man-sized, I would still be like, what the fuck's that? Like, oof, God, no, it's not good.
I don't like, you know, when you walk in and you feel something like touch.
Oh, yeah, no, that's gross.
Even if it's like seaweed or, you know, like something like that, I just, that
However,
freaks me out.
I am too much of a fashion icon to ever wear those little slip-on shoes that they make you put on. There is no way. I'd rather have jellyfish on my feet than have those bloody little, whatever they're called, slipperoonies. Little things, slip-ons.
Yeah, they're little shoes, aren't they?
Can you imagine being like, can you imagine if I walked up to you and I was like, bear with me, Carla, just got to put on my slip-ons. You'd be like,
get away from me.
Getting in the car, I'm going home. Jesus Christ. No, I don't understand how people can be comfortable with not knowing what's in the ocean.
Yeah, that freaks me out as well. The fact that we only know what, like 5% of it is.
There was one of those.
Freaking freaky.
I don't know the official name of it. I'll put it here. Thank you,
like
editing James.
It's a football fish on Animal Crossing.
It's a football fish.
Yeah.
It's the one with the light on the front that's in Nemo, isn't it?
Fish on
Yeah. But one of
counts.
those came to, one of those came into our layer of the ocean, and basically was dead because obviously it can't survive up there up that top. But they've never seen one. Like they've only ever like had it in things, so they finally seen one that high.
That, like due to the amount, like the pressure as well. That's why everything down there looks so fucked up, because it's just like it's pressurized.
Yeah, I fell down a YouTube rabbit hole a few months ago, just monging out, and was like, oh god, and it was like, this is the amount of pressure on 200 feet below surface, and then this and and it was like, it got to the point where it was at the lowest point that Matt Human had been, and it was something like 20 elephants. Hey, Crumb. It was something like 20 elephants worth of pressure, like human-sized elephants standing on top of your head.
Oh,
so that's when, like, you know, the submarine crashes that have happened. Obviously, people just obliterate. You don't know it. They just go kaput.
Yeah.
Like, that's what terrifies me. It's like, what's living down there that has that kind of pressure? Is there a giant shark down there?
Probably. There's giant squids and stuff. They go down there.
Yeah, but they come to the surface. You've seen those. Like they're I don't know. Squids kind of terrify me, but also they're just a bit odd looking. They're like, I don't really find squids offensive.
I find them a bit scary.
If there was, because I mean, they are literally. If you imagine,
They're huge.
They're huge. They're like the size.
Find them, I don't know what it is. Something just like off puts me a little bit.
And the fact they spray ink and all that stuff.
Yeah, just a bit freaky.
Yeah,
I'm not here for them.
Freaky.
Don't like them.
Not in a good way.
No, it's same with octopuses. Like the fact that they can literally just like suffocate you, and just like cling onto you, and then
go.
You're gone.
They're like face huggers.
Yeah, and the beak, the little hidden
beak.
Yeah, they have little beaks. That's
what,
how
an octopus?
They eat. Yeah.
Oh, if they just had a mouth.
No, have you watched Pirates of the Caribbean? The Kraken. That's like an octopus.
Yeah, it's a big octopus. It's a big squid, isn't it?
It has like a beak that they eat.
Gah.
No, it's terrifying. It freaks me out. No beaks.
No beaks. The Kraken.
No.
What if the Kraken exists?
It
down
probably
below.
does. I wouldn't
Wouldn't it be
surprised if
cool
does.
though if something like that, like Cthulhu or like some giant mythical, like not it doesn't have to be mythical, but like giant. I still, the one thing that's really weird is I kind of test my fear, and I'm like, I want to know if there's actually something down there though. I don't want to be there when someone finds it, but I want to see it. I want to be like, someone confirms that like a megalodon shark's there. Bruce Willis will be buzzing because of the Meg and everything like that. They just go and film it with a live shark instead. Although he did that anyway, I think. But
Who?
Bruce Willis.
It wasn't Bruce Willis. It was Jason Statham.
I thought it was Bruce Willis.
Yeah,
it's a film made for people over 50 that have like.
So bad.
Have you seen that film where Jason Statham?
Film.
Jason Statham fights. He fights a giant shark. You're never gonna believe it. Next month, Jason Statham fights a giant squid.
Literally, they're all the same. Fucking waste.
Does it
of
have a
time.
beak?
Yes.
He punches it in the beak.
I think now's a good time to spin the wheel.
You want to spin the wheel?
I want to spin the wheel.
Spin the wheel. Sorry, no,
That's not the right tune.
No, we need an actual
It's
intro,
the
don't
wheel
we?
of trauma.
I need to do an actual thing. Where's my
Where's
phone?
the wheel?
Where's the wheel?
We've lost the wheel. What? Okay, we found the wheel.
We found. Sorry, we found the wheel.
We found the wheel. So,
So,
give it a spin.
let's give the wheel a spin. Can you give me the intro, please?
The wheel of.
Trauma!
There we go.
If you don't know what the Wheel of Trauma is, boys and girls, go and listen back to our last episode. It's a new segment that we've put towards the end of our episode that just gives a randomly generated one story. It's got to be quick and simple, or as quick and simple as possible. We don't do quick and simple here.
No, we waffle.
We do waffle. But we're trying to just do like a random generated story. Because obviously we have the themes for the actual pod, but we also try to
We
not...
have side quests that we go off of a little bit too much. So we're trying to rein it in.
But this is our best of the best, cream of the crop stories. So I'm going to spin the wheel for me or for you?
For you.
For me, okay. Let's have a look.
What have we got? What have we got?
So I actually got the worst fear. So for those of you that are listening to this via audio, the worst fear has been chosen for me. Don't know why I said that like an audio
What
description.
is the worst fear?
So the worst fear would be thalassophobia. So I feel like I've obviously covered a lot of that and what I've dealt with before, which is really weird because it's almost like foreshadowing with it, which is great. So I've already really told my story of that.
What about like daily? Like what's your like day-to-day worst fear? Or something that could happen to you on like a normal day?
Christ, that's a deep question, that is.
Rather than the water thing, because that's not going to happen all the time.
Okay, so for me, do you know what? I'm actually not going to go with that. I'm going to go with a fear that actually was my worst fear as a kid. So
Small dogs. Squirrels in the loft.
everything really. I mean, a lot of the talk. This should be called childhood traumarific, really, isn't it? Because a lot of our stories
a lot
do
of
happen.
it stems from that.
We've actually had some stories today that happened last week, though, which is quite good. And probably going forward, we'll have a lot more once we try to unveil all of the childhood trauma. But the one thing that really sticks out in my mind is the staircase and the landing at my mum and dad's was very creaky. Like, very creaky. And I hated it because I think, as I've mentioned in previous episodes, I had a really big, love and I was a big enthusiast for horror films. I'd never really watched any, but obviously I'd known the concept of them. YouTube wasn't a thing back then, so you couldn't even do that.
That's mad to me.
You're not that much younger.
No, but I forget, like, there's a tiny little, like, 3 year?
3 year gap.
3 year gap.
But that 3 year gap was literally the moment where you didn't know what dial-up internet was.
No.
To which is still so mental, to literally, but it's only 3 years. But within that moment, before YouTube, you had the internet, which obviously still had everything on it. But I was scared of this creaky floorboard, because my mum's landing was tiny, right? It was literally like a square. It was no bigger than a square, right? And the stairs were super creaky. But at night, I had to have the telly on. I'm one of these guys. But the reason I am one of these guys that had the telly on overnight was because I hated the sounds of the house, because it used to just creak all the time. And there was one time where I was a big wrestling enthusiast, massive wrestling enthusiast, and I wanted to watch WrestleMania. And my dad and mum actually, fortunately, back then, I think you can still do it now, but like the boxing, you had to buy WrestleMania on Sky Box Office. It was like a tenner back then. I think it's like way more now.
Yeah.
But you had to buy it. My mum and dad had Sky Multi-Room just because they threw out their old... Well, they were going to throw out their old Sky box, but at the time Sky did this thing where you could free put your stuff upstairs anyway, so they decided to give it to me, so I felt very, very privileged, but you had to watch what was on downstairs, and this is the context, I'm not just rambling, by the way. So because I had to watch what was downstairs, my dad had to record WrestleMania, and it had to be on the box office. You had to watch it to record it at that time, because it was before Sky Plus was a big thing. And I've got my telly on in my room, and I kept it on because I didn't like the sound of the creaking in the floorboards, and I've gone to sleep. In the time that I've gone to sleep, one of my parents, I do not know which one still to blame, put a blanket over the telly, right? And my telly was on a bracket. I know you're trying not to laugh. The TV was on a bracket on the wall, quite high up, like angled down, right? So in the corner of my room, so single bed, far end corner, there's a telly, and the TV's on. The sound's been muted so that I can now fall asleep. My mum's come in. I say my mum. It probably was my mum. She's come in. She's put the blanket over the telly. She's muted the telly, right? But the telly's still on, right? I've woke up in a daze. Right, boys and girls, I've woke up in a daze. Oh, God. What time is it? It's 2 o'clock in the morning. Right, not even seeing that it's 2 o'clock in the morning. No one's saying that. I didn't even know what fucking time it was. I woke up. As I've opened my eyes, I just look, and all I can see is a floating, glowing being in the air.
Was it a white sheet as well she put on? So
it was like a white blanket, yeah. She put a white blanket over my telly, right? And it was like, obviously the TV was still on, but... So as I opened my eyes as a child, I have just seen this floating white blanket after having my telly on for numerous weeks, you know, because I don't like these creaks. And I've then jumped out of my bed, ran into my parents' room, crying my eyes out, going, there's a fucking ghost in there! And I was like, ah! And they're like, whoa, calm down. What? Like, what's wrong? And I'm like, there's a ghost. They're like, what's a ghost, for God's sake? Stop being an idiot. They walk in. She's like, there's nothing in here. And I've gone in. I'm like that. And she's like, and then she's like, oh, sorry, mate. Sorry, mate. I've put the blanket over the telly so you didn't see the WrestleMania results when you woke up. Yeah, cheers. 2 o'clock in the morning. I've woke up. There's a fucking blanket over my telly. And till that scared the life out of me, right? It was absolutely dreadful, and I just remember getting an apology, and then I couldn't sleep again.
I mean, it's better than I've just seen E.T. on the landing.
I think I slept on my parents' floor for the next few weeks. I couldn't sleep in my room. I refused. There was a point afterwards where I refused to sleep in the room. I was like, I'll sleep on the floor at the end of their bed. I literally slept on the floor with a pillow and a duvet. I was like, I can't do it. I was young, by the way, when this happened.
It was 15.
That was last week. But no, it was a very, very traumatic time, boys and girls. And that is a story where I remember when I told you for the first time.
I told everybody that story. Yeah. I told my parents. I told my sister. I told everybody that I worked with at the time. I told like their partners, people that were coming to work. I told customers as well. There was like 2 people.
Did they find it funny?
Yeah, they were.
There's a random people. I mean, now there's random people in the UK that
it's
are
just
above.
So funny. It's just class. This is what I mean, though. There's like random shit that's happened to you that has not happened to anyone else that I know of.
That was terrifying. That was absolutely terrifying. And I would say that was my worst fear for a while, because again,
Ghosts.
Ghost, yeah.
Yeah.
It was because of the creaking, the creak on the stairs that made it worse. That was absolutely dreadful. I think that was a great little spin, actually, other than philosopher.
I love it so much. Like, I used to have this thing whenever I go around my grandma's house for like sleepovers and stuff. She used to have dolls. Dolls are something that I've never
Gross.
messed with because they
Hate dolls.
freaked me out. But I think that's where it stemmed from, because I kid you not, she'd have, I think, like 20 like China dolls, not in boxes or anything, but they were all like shelf, doll, wall to wall. And whenever I used to stay around, I used to say to my auntie, like, please get them out of the, I'm not sleeping there unless they're in the room still. So they'd have to take them all out and bundle them all around my grandma's room when she slept. Fuck that. But yeah, since then I've just always had a phobia of it. Like, even horror films, I won't watch anything if it's to do with like children,
ghosts,
or dolls, or possession, or like paranormal shit. I don't fuck with that. I'm not inviting anything into this house that doesn't need to be here. But yeah, like I remember as well when I used to sleep in my mum and dad's room when I was like little and I have like nightmares or whatever. They used to have a rocking chair in the corner of the room.
Horrible.
That they obviously kept from when we were like babies and stuff.
But still horrible.
But yeah, awful fucking thing. And I used to literally like face away from it, and I'd like go to drift off and open my eyes and be like, tuck behind me.
See ya.
And it just felt like someone was there. It was fucking horrible.
But you know, people again, each their own. People believe in obviously the paranormal, and people believe in like energy. Mediums and the energy and whatnot. The energy.
I'm not inviting those fuckers in.
I don't want to invite, the fuckers in, because there's certain houses, you know, when you get like say we were to move into a house that was...
I had it here.
What?
When we first moved in here, the landing...
Right, why have you told me that now?
The landing...
When I go and record this, I've got to walk up there before you.
No, honestly, the landing, when we, like, first few nights we slept here, I couldn't sleep because we have to keep our bedroom door open because the fucking cats just scratch and claw at it otherwise. And it would look into the hallway, and there was a few times that I'd be like, no, I don't like that. Honestly, I felt like something.
What, from down? What, through that landing?
Yeah, like through the landing, looking into the landing. I'm all right with it now because we've been here a bit longer now, and it is what it is. But yeah, when we first moved in, it felt weird.
Bad juju.
Yeah, a little bit, but it's all good now. Right, we need to do
your wheel.
My spin.
Your spin.
What we got? Ta-da!
Childhood story. We're linking back. It's really wanting to push us. The spirits, the energy. It's giving us childhood story. It's on the landing.
Don't.
Sorry, childhood story, boys and girls, is what it is. Which childhood story, obviously, is very self-explanatory. It is just what we call the pod.
So, there's quite a few. I mean, a lot of trauma emanates from when I was like 7, 8, 9.
We've established that 7, 8 and 9 is the trauma.
Stories come from. I don't
Before
know why.
then, she was just a little baby relaxing on the beach.
Yeah, then I hit 7, everything went downhill. And then it was okay again after like 10. That's a lie.
I was going to say.
That's not true.
Should we unpack that?
No, it's fine.
You okay?
So yeah, like anyway, so yeah, there's a lot of stories that I've got. Like one of my traumatizing things that happened to me was I was really shit at learning to do things. So I think I was 6 when I learned how to ride a bike.
Fair enough. You learned to ride it?
I was 6. A lot of the people on my like estate, they were like 4, 5. They were on when they were like, stabilizers when you're a toddler kind of thing. And my poor dad tried so hard to get me to ride this fucking bike. And the amount of times I just smashed into everything because I think I whacked into a tree. I'd be covered in grazes like constantly because I was trying really hard to like get it, but I just couldn't. And my balance was so bad.
How far up the road would you get?
Not very far. You know the green? outside. I'd get from like the second tree in to where like there used to be a tarmac area, and I'd like come off.
It's probably about, for the people at home, about 20 yards.
Not very far.
Not very far.
Not very far at all. But yeah, there was one time that I went out when I learnt how to ride my bike. I went out on it on my own, and I had my headphones in, and I was riding around like just like the block, and all of a sudden like it felt like I couldn't like hear my music properly. So I was like, oh, is it like turned down or something? No, the earbud fell out. I hadn't noticed. It got tangled in the wheel. I was trying to stop the bike. I was going...
Carry on.
You're out of shot.
No, I know, sorry, carry on.
Well, okay. So then, after my headphones got tangled in the wheel, don't laugh at me.
Sorry.
I was like, I think I was 7. So yeah.
That's like something out of a comedy sketch.
No, because this lady kept shouting at me saying, "Oh, you look a bit tangled there, love. You okay?" And I couldn't hear her because I was like me. So I was coming up to this hill, you know.
Yeah.
By my dad's, the hill bit. I was coming up to that. I was trying to brake because we've all established I'm not a thrill seeker. I don't like going down and not braking. It scares me.
Are your headphones still tangled?
They're still tangled. So I then think, oh, that's going to cause me an issue. So I start to try and brake. I get about halfway. My steering starts to go. And then I proceed to just fall down the end of my road into a car, face first. And literally, like, I think I got home and Amy was like, "What the fucking hell happened to you?" My face was all like bloody from where I cut it. I had cuts all up and down me. My bike was fucked. My headphones were ruined. And they came out halfway up the road. So yeah, my first solo trip on my bike was horrible. I don't think I ever did it again.
How old were you when this happened, sorry?
I think I was 7.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was not the one. So I either went out with Amy or with mum and dad. I never went out on my bike after that. It's fucking horrible.
I'm sorry for laughing, but you've never told me that.
No, I like to save some things.
I can just imagine, it sounds like a Tom and Jerry sketch. Like,
It felt horrible. It's more like, you know it's going to happen, and then you're trying to like stop it happening. Obviously, I was only 7, so I was like a baby still. I don't know what the best thing to do was. A flash went through my head of just jump off the bike, but it was all tarmac, so I was
jump off the bike?
Well, yeah, because it's like I don't want to crash into anything.
Eject.
Literally, like eject yourself off the bike. But I couldn't catch up with what was happening like fast enough. My brain was like, oh yeah, this is probably going to happen, but it's going to happen anyway, so let's go for it. It was just I remember getting home and everyone was like, what the fucking hell's happened to you? And I was like, I don't want to talk about it. I hit my bike.
Were you not like bleeding or anything?
Yeah, like I was bawling my eyes out, and you know, I was covered in the scratches and grazes and gravel and God knows what else. I don't even know if the car was okay. Probably dented the goddamn car.
There's one thing that we did actually. The end of that story I've heard. I haven't heard the actual whole thing of it. Was that me and Carla actually bonded on one of our first few dates. Maybe first few dates, that we both have crashed into parked cars on our bikes.
Face on.
Yeah. We did the same thing. Not as brutal as hers. The hill the hill she's talking about is very much a hill. The one that happened with me was my driveway, which was a decline. But I went straight face first into a gravel on. I had to have a gum shield for 6 months.
I just
And now my teeth, I mean, I'm not going to show my teeth on the podcast. My teeth are not the best. Because of that, it pushed a lot of my teeth back before they grew. Sorry, my mind's got, I'm still laughing at you. All I can think about is literally you looking down going, why is it earbuds? Your headphones are going,
yeah, it wasn't good. I think I was
very lucky
that about my headphones getting wrecked.
Compare headphones, that?
No, they were crap. It was back when, like...
Yeah, they were wired. Yeah.
Shit, they were so
if you had AirPods back then, you'd be fine.
Well, yeah, I wouldn't have nearly killed myself. So it would have been
You're very lucky that didn't, like, jam and, like, you won't go flying. As in, like...
Yeah, it could have been a hell of a lot worse. Like, I could have... Yeah, it could have been a lot more worse. Thankfully, I don't know how it took so long for them to get, like, properly stuck. Mm-hmm. But... I wasn't pedaling. You know when you just let it free go, and then I was braking, trying to like stop it, and then it had just caught up at that point, and I went into the car. So
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
You've had some. Again, I'm going to give you a round of applause for that.
I'm a big brave girl. I'm a big brave girlie.
I'm going to give you a very big round of applause. Best story, I think, so far.
Thank you.
I'm going to give you a big round of applause for that.
I'm the most
and on your episode too.
person here.
On your episode too. But do you have any... I mean, you should be asking me this, actually.
Well, do you have anything else you wanted to put in?
Any final thoughts?
Any final thoughts or queries?
Any final thoughts? Well, I just think I should just say I think you've done a great job.
Thank you.
I think you did a great job.
More Carla content.
More Carla content.
More leadership.
I think that we'll take it in turns. I think that's how we'll plan it out. I think...
I like asking questions.
Yeah,
I like
guys, if you enjoyed...
diving into that big fat brain.
If you enjoyed the Carla cast, it's been a pleasure.
Yes, thank you so much. Let me know that I did a good job.
She did a great job. Little pat on the head.
Thank you. If anyone else ever smashed into anything really bad on their bike, let me know.
If you're scared of anything, any phobias, and also if you're scared
of anything.
If you're scared of anything at all, like whoa. If you're scared of anything at all, if you think
you have any like odd like your water thing, I've not heard anyone else mention that.
What, thalassophobia?
Yeah, I don't know anyone else scared of that. Like I don't think you know anyone else that's scared of waxwork dummies. Or
send us in your
ET.
phobias. If you've got a very strange phobia, I think that'd be quite good.
If you've got any like funny, light-hearted stories from when you were younger, that's maybe impiled a little bit of something in there, we can unpack that.
Sendtrauma@gmail.com. I repeat, sendtrauma@gmail.com. And that's all we've got time for today, folks. So I think we give a round of applause to Carla.
Thank you.
And we will see you in the next one next week for a lovely new episode.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Bye.